Imagine stepping into an ancient human camp 30,000 years ago. Something would immediately feel wrong. Not dangerous, just profoundly unusual. You'd look around, asking yourself, where is everyone? More precisely, where are all the old people? The camp would predominantly consist of children, chasing each other around the fire, observing adults at work, or teenagers honing vital survival skills. Young parents would be tending to their babies. The entire scene would strike you as incredibly youthful, far younger than any modern town or city you know. This seems to align with a widely cited statistic. Ancient humans, we're told, often died before the age of 30, sometimes even 25. The implied message is always the same. Life was brutally short, barely extending beyond early adulthood. But here's the strange truth. While that statistic is technically accurate, it's also profoundly misleading. To truly grasp why, we first need to understand the harsh realities of ancient life. Picture yourself as an ancient human, waking just before sunrise. The embers from last night's fire still glow, and the camp slowly stirs to life. From the moment you open your eyes, your day is consumed by a singular, all-encompassing challenge: survival. Food must be found, water collected, and children protected. The weather demands constant vigilance. The next few days are as critical as the present, for there are no stockpiled supplies awaiting you. Everything hinges on what your group can forage, gather, hunt, and transport. And every step of this relentless process is fraught with peril. Let's consider something as seemingly minor as a cut. Today, accidentally slicing your hand while preparing dinner is merely an annoyance. You clean it, perhaps apply a bandage, and within a week, it's forgotten. 30,000 years ago, however, that same cut could initiate a deadly countdown. The wound might become infected, the infection spreading rapidly through your body. A fever would develop, yet no one would understand why or what was happening internally. Those around you could offer warmth, water, and their desperate hope, but little else. Today, antibiotics are a given, a standard part of modern medicine. Yet for almost the entirety of human history, they simply didn't exist, and without them, infections claimed an unimaginable number of lives. Then there was the constant struggle for food. Imagine a hunt fails. Disappointing, yes. Now imagine the next hunt fails as well. Worry would begin to ripple through the group. A third consecutive failure would drastically alter the mood of the entire camp. Children needed nourishment, adults required energy, and there was no telling when the next opportunity would arise. Even successful hunts were inherently perilous. The animals ancient humans pursued were far from passive targets. A wounded deer could deliver a powerful kick, a boar could gore, and a large animal could inflict severe, life-threatening injuries upon its pursuers. Indeed, countless ancient skeletons bear silent witness to broken bones, healed fractures, and other severe traumas. Life was so inherently dangerous that merely surviving into what we consider old age was an extraordinary achievement in itself. But danger wasn't confined to internal threats or the struggle for sustenance. It lurked in the tree line, in the tall grass, and in the impenetrable darkness beyond the campfire's glow. For the vast majority of human history, we were not the apex predators. The very species that would eventually construct cities, pioneer medicine, and walk on the moon spent hundreds of thousands of years as prey. Lions, leopards, hyenas, wolves, and crocodiles all hunted humans at various points throughout history. There's even a compelling theory that our instinctive fear of snakes, spiders, and darkness isn't arbitrary, but rather a memory encoded deep within us, passed down through thousands of generations of ancestors who learned those fears the hard way. The things that make you instinctively flinch today might well be echoes of genuine, nightly survival threats your ancestors confronted. And then, there was the universally understood peril of childbirth. Today, it's typically a joyful, celebrated event. Yet for most of human history, it was simultaneously one of the most dangerous. A difficult birth could claim the life of the baby, the mother, or tragically both. The evolutionary development of the remarkably large human brain transformed childbirth into one of the most hazardous moments in any human life. Every single person alive today is a testament to countless generations who, against formidable odds, somehow navigated this perilous passage. By now, The statistic that ancient humans died before 30 begins to sound entirely plausible. With so many dangers lurking at every turn, it seems reasonable to assume that few reached middle age, that old people were a rarity, and that ancient camps were indeed populated almost exclusively by the young. But here's where the story takes a surprising and crucial turn. Ancient humans were not simply dropping dead the moment they turned 30. In fact, if you successfully navigated the perilous journey of childhood, reaching the ages of 50 or even 60 was far from uncommon. Consider a hypothetical village with 10 children. Imagine 5 of them tragically die before their second birthday. The remaining 5, however, live to the age of 60. What's the average lifespan for this group? 31 years. Yet, crucially, no one actually died at 31. Half perished as toddlers, while the other half became elders. The average, while statistically true, tells a story vastly different from what most people envision. This is the deceptive trap concealed within ancient life expectancy figures. When researchers calculate average lifespans, they include every individual, critically, including children. And for the vast majority of human history, childhood was an incredibly perilous journey, a fact often overlooked. The true reason ancient life expectancy was so low wasn't a constant, early demise for adults at 30. It was the staggering number of children who simply never survived to adulthood. Today, in many nations, over 99% of children live through their early years, a survival rate that would have seemed miraculous for most of human history. Anthropologists studying traditional populations frequently uncover childhood mortality rates that would profoundly shock modern audiences. In some instances, a third of children died before reaching adulthood. In others, nearly half. Picture your own school class. 30 children gathered in a room. Now, imagine erasing 15 of them, not because they moved away or changed schools, but because they didn't survive. That was the stark reality of childhood for much of human history, a reality many families endured. Parents understood it, communities knew it, yet life persisted. People still laughed, fell in love, and planned for the future. Humans, it turns out, are remarkably adaptable, even amidst profound uncertainty. Now, imagine you survived childhood, you made it through. Something fundamental shifted. Your immune system had gained invaluable experience. You had learned which mistakes were fatal, and you knew where to find sustenance. The overwhelming odds were no longer stacked against you in the same way. This is precisely why ancient humans routinely reached ages that often astound modern individuals. Archaeologists have unearthed prehistoric skeletons belonging to people who lived into their 50s, 60s, and even beyond. These weren't mythical outliers. They were integral members of thriving communities. Old people not only existed, but they may have represented one of humanity's most significant advantages. Consider the onset of a severe drought. A younger person would have no prior experience of such an event. An elder, however, would recall the last one. They would know where water might still be found, which roots were fruitless, and which plants became toxic after heavy rains. They possessed knowledge that existed nowhere else, because nothing was written down. No books, no maps, no records. All of humanity's accumulated wisdom resided solely in human memory. This means an elder was far more than just an older person. They were a living library, the only one their group possessed. To lose an elder was to lose an irreplaceable repository of knowledge forever. This perspective fundamentally transforms how we view old age. It wasn't a burden for ancient societies to manage. It was one of their most invaluable resources. Some scientists even theorize that this crucial role may be a key reason why humans evolved unusually long lifespans. Grandparents actively participated in raising children, sharing vital knowledge across generations, and thereby significantly increasing the survival odds for younger individuals. Old age was not useless. It was profoundly valuable. This crucial insight is often overlooked when we visualize the ancient world. The mental image many of us hold, a world where everyone died young, where 30 was considered ancient, and where elderly people were almost entirely absent, is fundamentally flawed. The reality was far more nuanced. Ancient societies, much like our own, encompassed children, teenagers, young adults, parents, grandparents, and elders. The profound difference lay in the sheer number of people who never had the opportunity to grow old. The true tragedy wasn't dying at 30. It was never reaching 30 in the first place. This, not some inherent biological limit causing humans to expire prematurely, is what artificially depressed the average lifespan. And this understanding brings us back to that ancient camp we imagined at the beginning. If you were to walk through that camp, you would indeed first notice the abundance of children, making the entire settlement feel exceptionally young. But if you lingered long enough, you would also discern something else: the weathered faces of the elders. These were individuals carrying decades of memories, people who had endured countless winters, who remembered successful hunts, devastating droughts, joyous births, sorrowful deaths, and epic migrations. Their stories stretched back further than anyone else's. They were there too, and their very existence unveils the profound truth hidden behind one of history's most misunderstood statistics. Ancient humans did not typically die because their bodies simply wore out at 30. They died because the journey to adulthood was fraught with immense difficulty. In a profound way, this understanding reshapes our perception of progress itself. When discussions turn to civilization's triumphs, people often highlight skyscrapers, airplanes, computers, and space travel. While these achievements are undeniably impressive, one of humanity's most monumental accomplishments is far more fundamental: the ability to keep children alive. Clean drinking water, vaccines, hospitals, safer childbirth practices, antibiotics, and advanced sewage systems did not magically invent old age. Old age was always a possibility. What these innovations did was dramatically increase the likelihood that a newborn would actually have the chance to experience it. For the vast majority of human history, the greatest challenge wasn't living to 80, it was surviving long enough to even have that opportunity. And every single person alive today is a direct descendant of those who, against extraordinary odds, managed to do exactly that.